the 2 HP pitch and play. These two modules have probably been some of the most inspiring modules that I've used in Eurorack, especially for me, where I can take some samples, put them on a memory card, and then use them in a way that I wouldn't normally use them with a computer. Being able to trigger different samples and pitch them up and down with very speed playback, or actually pitching with no loss of speed or time, has been super inspiring. It's kind of given me a new approach to how I sample in general, and doing it in a format where sometimes the randomness takes control has really opened up a whole new world of possibilities for me with samples and how I record those back into my DAW and actually use them in modern production. So that's the whole point of this video, is to show a way that you can take samples from a digital age and manipulate them in a modular world. The 2 HP play, it's a very speed playback sampler. So what this means is you put the samples on a memory card, you put the memory card inside the unit, and you can trigger different samples from the memory card. Now, very speed is kind of a original or old school way of sampling, because what changes the pitch is the actual playback speed. And this is still used in samplers today, where if you speed up the playback of the sample, it creates a higher pitch but a shorter sample. And if you slow down the playback, it creates a longer sample and a lower pitch. Now, this is a really cool and unique way to sample, but sometimes I want the length of the sample to stay the same while being able to pitch it up and down, and that's where the 2 HP pitch comes into play. This is the 2 HP module right here. It's pretty straightforward. You have volt per octave, which changes the playback speed or pitch. This is a loop to loop the samples. This is your file selector for the SD card, which you can trigger with CV, so you can have it switch between different samples. Here you have the trigger button, which again you can trigger with CV, so you can have it trigger any pattern you want. And you have an output. So let's start by keeping this simple and just go out into a mixer like that. And let's trigger some of these samples. So I only have a few samples on here. One thing to note, I exported all these samples in the beginning with Logic and had nothing but issues. Every time I would trigger a sample, it would have a pop after it. No matter how big of a fade I put on the file, I exported the same exact files in Ableton, set it to mono 44.1, and it works perfect. No pops, no issues. So I just want to mention that because I did run into that problem. So let's step this up a notch. I have a sequence going up here. It's just 8 steps, and let's just set it to trigger a sample on each step. So again, very simple. Let's just go back to, I don't know, let's hit play. So again, just triggering a sample on each step, pretty straightforward. Now let's take it up another notch and let's control the playback speed with the pitch of these knobs here. So you can hear how it changes the speed, which changes the pitch. And just to make this sound a little more pleasant, let's just run into a tune module, and then we'll set this to a minor scale, so that way it just sounds good. Already, this is a really cool sample. I would turn that into something, and I think to do that, what I would probably do is send that into an effects module. We're just gonna use the ghost here and send this out. And let's just add some reverb and maybe a low pass filter. What's cool about the 2 HP play is you can actually use a trigger to change different samples on the memory card. So you could put 30 samples on there and have it flip between different samples while playing back. And that's just a really cool feature, especially for rhythmic percussion or even like vocal chops and one-shots. So another thing we can do is have it change to a different sample every time it changes pitch. So we'll just go out of there into the file selector and let's hit play. So a lot of cool options just by using the play. So now let's take it over to the pitch and pitch these samples. The 2 HP pitch, on the other hand, allows you to pitch up or down 3 octaves without any change in the actual speed of the sample. And this is what I love about these two modules together. So on the memory card, I changed lock pitch to 1, so now it locks the pitch no matter what happens with the vari-speed playback. So from here, I like to run out into the pitch unit, and then we can run out of the pitch unit into our effects module. All the effects and everything are off for right now, and let's just hit play on our sequence. So you notice how the pitch doesn't actually change the playback speed, it actually only changes the pitch, which is what I love. Pitch also has a wow and flutter option, so you can kind of have that old school tape sound by warbling the sample if you want with the wow or flutter, which is really cool for pitch fluctuations and just to give something a cool and unique tone. The wow and flutter, let's just see what that sounds like. So Flutter gives you those fast pitch variations and wow gives you slow pitch variations like tape warble. So now that we have that, you also have a mix knob here. Let's leave this wow and flutter in the middle. And right now the mix knob isn't going to do anything because we're set to the same pitch, but so now we're getting 2 voices at one time with 1 sample, which is pretty cool. All right, so now let's plug in our tuner to the volts per octave. So now, same thing we did earlier, these knobs up here are going to affect the pitch through a minor scale, but it's not going to change the playback speed of the sample, and this is the reason why I love both of these together. More reverb. So again, this is just one way that I use it to make samples, but I think these two modules together are really cool, and you can do some really unique things with them by blending the mix knob, adding the wow and flutter, triggering samples, using the vary speed or the pitch, running it through effects. And this is what I've been doing to generate different loops and samples for my modern sessions. So now I'm just gonna make a couple things and I'm gonna sample them into the computer. Let's do it. Another cool sample I just made, I'm using Pam's Pro Workout to trigger the play, and I have another one coming out of Pam's Pro to trigger the pitch using just a random wave and looping 4 beats, and this is what it sounds like. So I've been messing around for a little bit. I put 4 samples on the memory card that are from one long loop, and I cut them up into pieces, and I set the clock to the right speed. So I'm controlling pitch of the sample from the tuner, which is going into Pam's. I'm also controlling the file playback, the loop. So here's the sample. So I have all 4 of those pieces being triggered at different times, and the trigger itself is being triggered at a different time, and we're gonna record this one in because I think I can make something cool with it. So the final patch here, this is something I'd probably use for a movie trailer or something cinematic. Play is playing a vocal sample, which is being controlled by pitch to control the pitch of the sample. The trigger and the pitch is coming from the sequencer. This is all going to a low pass filter and then running into the Korg NTS1 to the output. This is a custom faceplate I'm designing for the Korg NTS1 and NTS2, so stay tuned for that. This is definitely a prototype one, but let's play this back. This is a video I wanted to make because I'm still exploring the world of modular and synthesis. So for me to be able to kind of dip my toes in and share this knowledge and my experience and my journey along the way is really exciting. And I hope this inspires you to make something cool or to grab one of these modules and do some sampling and sample it back in. So yeah, that's what this video is about. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Hit me with a like or a sub for the algorithm, and stay tuned for more content coming out soon. We out.